Impact of prevalence of child labor. Child labor impedes children from gaining the skills and education they need to have opportunities of decent work as an adult. Child labor deprives a child of his/her childhood. It not only denies his/her right to education but also right to leisure. Child laborers face major health and physical risks. They work long hours and are required to perform tasks for which they are physically and developmentally unprepared. Working in hazardous conditions adversely affects a child's physical and mental health and impairs intellectual, emotional, and psychological development. Poverty. Child labor is both a cause and consequence of poverty. Household poverty forces children into the labor market to earn money. Thus, the children miss out on an opportunity to gain an education, further perpetuating household poverty across generations. Presence of a large number of child laborers has long-term effect on the economy. It is a serious obstacle to socio-economic welfare of a country. International safeguards. International Labor Organization ILO conventions. The two core conventions directly related to child labor are that of ILO Convention 138 Minimum Wage Convention and 182 Worst Forms of Child Labor Convention. India has ratified both the core conventions of International Labor Organization ILO Convention's Declaration of Rights of Child, 1959, Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, stipulates under Article 25 that childhood is entitled to special care and assistance. The above principles, along with other principles of Universal Declaration concerning child, were incorporated in the Declaration of the Rights of the Child, 1959, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989. It sets out different rights of children: civil, political, economic, cultural, social, and health. Article 32 states that the government should protect children from work that is dangerous or might harm their health or their education. Policy framework surrounding child labor. Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act, 1986. Based on the recommendations of the Guru-Patwami Committee 1979, the Act was passed in 1986. It has following objectives: to prohibit the engagement of children in certain employment and to regulate the conditions of work of children in certain other employment. Salient features. Part II of the Act prohibits children from working in any occupation listed in Part F of the schedule. For example, catering at railway establishments, construction work on the railway or anywhere near the tracks, plastics factories, automobile garages, etc. The Act also prohibits children from working in places where certain processes are being undertaken, as listed in Part B of the schedule. For example, bead making, tanning, soap manufacture, brick kilns and roof tiles units, etc. Part II of the Act outlines the conditions in which children may work in occupations/processes not listed in the schedule. Any person who employs any child in contravention of the provisions of Section 3 of the Act is liable for punishment with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 3 months but which may extend to 1 year or fine. Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Act, 2016. The Amendment Act completely prohibits the employment of children below 14 years. The amendment also prohibits the employment of adolescents in the age group of 14 to 18 years in hazardous occupations and processes and regulates their working conditions where they are not prohibited. The amendment also provides stricter punishment for employers for violation of the Act and making the offense of employing any child or adolescent in contravention of the Act by an employer as cognizable. National Policy on Child Labor 1987. It contains the action plan for tackling the problem of child labor. It focuses more on rehabilitation of children working in hazardous occupations and processes, rather than on prevention. The policy consists of 3 main attributes. A legal action plan (BMPHASIS) will be based on strict and effective enforcement of legal provisions relating to child under various labor laws. B. Focusing of general development programs. Utilization of various ongoing development programs of other ministries/departments for the benefit of child labor wherever possible. C. Project-based plan of action. Launching of projects for the welfare of working child in areas of high concentration of child labor. National Child Labor Project Scheme. For rehabilitation of child labor, the government had initiated the National Child Labor Project (NCLP) scheme. The NCLP scheme seeks to eliminate all forms of child labor through identification and withdrawal children from child labor and preparing them for mainstream education along with vocational training. To contribute to the withdrawal of all adolescent workers from hazardous occupations/processes and their skilling and integration in appropriate occupations. Creation of a child labor monitoring, tracking and reporting system. Pencil, the government has launched a dedicated platform pencil.governor.in to ensure effective enforcement of child labor laws and end child labor. Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2000 and Amendment of the Act in 2006.